Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
How's it
What's
going?
happening?
Welcome to another episode of Ska Talk with Mr. Kingpin. I am your host, Johnny Bravo, and today I have the great honor and privilege to have with us Queen P of Ocean 11.
Yeah,
How is it going?
it's going. It's actually going really well, and I'm happy to be here, honored to be here. You know, I've seen your list of people that are joining you, so to be on that list is great. Haven't really been able to talk to very many people about music, so and I know how much people adore Ocean 11, so anything that I can do to support that love and share any stories or information or memories, it's a blessing, to be here.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We're gonna ask people in the comment section to put questions out there. So we'll get to those later on. So if you guys have any questions or things you want to say, make sure to put them in the comments and we'll read them out. And before we get started, I have ska news that I have to do. Ska news. I like that. So, real quick, we'll just make this. This is stuff that's kind of popped up in the last week, right? Ska books. Do you like to read? Are you into ska? Well, you're in luck because there are two books coming out that tie in nicely together. And check this out. Charles Benoit of Reggae Steady Ska, he did an amazing interview with Aaron Carnes about their book, his book coming out, and Mark Wasserman, his book coming out, and it was In Defense of Ska and Ska Boom in American Ska and Reggae Oral History. So, if you go to Reggae Steady Ska on Facebook, you can see that interview. It's really good, and he was able to kind of like cross talk both of them, and their stories are very different, and they're covering different aspects of American ska, but they actually kind of line up perfectly. So go out there and check that out and support those independent publishers. Ska Boom is for sale. It's on pre-sale, and In Defense of Ska you can order now on Amazon and other outlets. Just a reminder, Prize Fighters in Minneapolis, they released the third video in their 3-video series live from the Future Condo studio, and you can now purchase that on Bandcamp. And speaking of Bandcamp, today is Bandcamp Friday. So please support your favorite bands. Go out there and buy their merch. I saw a bunch of bands have posted the stuff that they have for you. And of course, I'll plug myself, mrkingpin.bandcamp.com. We have the first single out there, and you can pre-order the album, which is coming out on Jump Up later this summer. And we got to get some. Well, we'll talk about that later. We got to get some Queen P up in that digital space. Okay, so Jump Up Records. Speaking of Jump Up. They just released a new compilation of new music. We Do the Ska 3. And it's a sampler. They put out the free sampler. You can go to their website and download it for free. Or if you order from Jump Up Records, he'll throw one in for you on CD. So it's got a great list of bands, releases that have come out and ones that are coming out soon. So check that out. And then last but not least, I thought this was very interesting. Madness. Did you know that Madness is doing a worldwide live stream tonight? Had you heard about that? So I ran across it this morning, and they have different times for the live stream. For the U.S., it ends up being like 10 o'clock Central Time. So it's like 8 o'clock Pacific. But there is a website. I'm going to share all the links to these here in a little bit, but they did a live stream from a huge theater, and you can check that out tonight. And that is your ska news. All right. Now with us, we have the main attraction, the
main event.
The main event, the ska royalty.
You might hear dogs barking, children running around, music playing in the background, but I'm here right now with you.
That's right. That's right, because this is quarantine times.
Quarantine.
Yes. I love this
That's
quote.
Cool. Wait, real quick. That's awesome about Madness, because I know everybody right before quarantine had bought their tickets, and so how incredible that we can see them. And then I want to throw in something about the prize fighters. Like, those tracks are pretty amazing. I remember the big festival that was like all day long. I forgot what it was called. Maybe you can help me out with that. But when their video came on, it just really blew me away. It was so timely, and the subject matter within the song, so relevant and poignant and beautiful.
Yes.
So
that was Supernova Ska Fest.
Thank you.
The quarantine edition.
Oh, that was?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, great. See how much I know. I have that COVID foggy brain going on.
I remember that because I was the behind the scenes guy that was running that festival.
You did a great job. That was so great. I literally couldn't stop watching. It was all day long. It was just the best.
It was, and let me tell you, Cooley Ranks was a trooper. Because
he was great. And when Derek wanted to do his, I used that as an example. I was like, Derek, I'm telling you, it's just phenomenal how we didn't know what to do in the beginning, but what people have actually done. I don't think we should stop some of these platforms and some of the ways that we're communicating across the world like that.
Yep.
That's pretty incredible. You know what I mean? That we can sit and watch people from all over. I don't know if you saw Derek's birthday event, but pretty amazing.
I did not. I didn't get to see it.
Go back and watch it. It's on YouTube now. But I mean, he's got Jimmy Cliff, Max Romeo, people all over the world celebrating him. And we're able to sit and watch Jimmy Cliff in his house, and Max Romeo on his balcony. It's just incredible what we've been able to do, in these circumstances. And
the funny thing is that the technology has been around for quite some time.
Right. But we're just now. Yeah.
Like Skype has been around, but Zoom somehow cornered the market, right?
Yeah, and people are still using WebEx, and I'm like, oh my gosh. No, I'm just kidding.
I still use it at work. So.
I'm just playing because it was funny, because I thought everyone connected to Zoom, and poor WebEx was like, hey, we've been here for a while.
I know, but as it goes. So I love this quote. This is not my quote, but it's an amazing quote from Duff Guide to Ska. This was back in 2011. Queen P personifies the likes of her musical godmothers, including Marcia Griffiths and Phyllis Dillon. And I thought that is perfect, because the way you just have the voice. You have that classic voice that was just meant for reggae and rocksteady and ska, and it's like, it's nice and jazzy, but it's very powerful, and it's just like the pocket is there. So I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop gushing.
That's okay. No, and I realized I was shaking my head, but I was thinking about the females that you were talking about. Because, singing growing up, like, I always belted and had a big voice, but I didn't know what I would use it for, so then to find and I loved 60s female singers. So, the American singers, but then to find just to magically stumble upon it, and the women, that I honor through singing, it somehow connected just magically. So I'm just proud that I can sing. There's some of their songs that they weren't able to share later in life, when they really were able to see that there are people that cherish them. and people that know their music, so to be able to, it's like you can't go see the Beatles live, you know what I mean? You
Yeah,
can't, all the
exactly.
music you love, if you can't see it live, hopefully there's people that can still share it in some way, so you can still hear that live big voice like you're saying, and bands, and that's an honor for me. So I appreciate you saying that. Gush away.
And that's the sad irony that
Yeah.
now that these classic singers have this worldwide appeal and they're so revered for being the pioneers, the ones that are still around, even sometimes it's hard for them to get out there, and being on the road is crazy. I know I saw, who was it, Patsy and Stranger Cole. They did a couple things in Chicago.
Yep.
And actually, they were backed by the Prize Fighters, if I'm not mistaken. And but there's still some out there that are doing it. But it's great to have musicians like yourself that are keeping the art form alive, and not just alive, but keeping it sounding the way it was, right? So first off, we got to start always at the beginning of the journey because we got to find out, how on earth did you come to know about this music that we all love?
I anticipated some questions and put some thought into it, because I tend to ramble. There's, different times in my life when I've been exposed to different music, Toots and the Maytals, Peter Tosh, of course, Bob Marley, who's behind me, blessing me right now. I remember even as a teenager hearing Chuck Foster on the weekend, and then years later being able to record with him. So I think the beautiful thing about LA, I just want to say right away, is how we're all connected. And so to be a part of that, I didn't anticipate that when I was younger, of course. And then, I thought I was a mod, but I just really loved 60s clothing. And my friends and I would go to clubs and dance. And of course, we listened to Madness and the Specials and all those wonderful two-tone bands. And that was a big part of my life. But really, when it comes to the traditional music and the legends and all this wonderful, so much music, right, out of Jamaica, it's really how it started with Ocean 11. I do remember having a friend that said to me, and I thought this was really funny because this was before I met Ocean 11, probably about 5 years before. And he said, you think you know Bob Marley, but you don't know anything. There's so much more than this reggae music that you love, And I guess his dad was a vinyl collector. And that stuck with me because I always wondered, what is he talking about? Like, I thought I knew every Bob Marley song there was, And so years later, my friend had passed away, and I always wish that I could tell him, now I know what you're talking about, when I finally was able to hear so much great music. There was a band, and some of you will know them, Ye Olde English. And I actually went to college with some of them. So I would go see them live. And, they did a lot of the Prince Buster covers, and they were great. They were a crazy band. People that know them know how amazing they were and are as people. But, okay, this is kind of a girly story, but I set my eyes on the guitar player, and something happened where I just instantly fell in love with him and had to get to know him. And so, something happened between the Old English, and some of the guys wanted to break off and start their own band, Ocean 11. And a friend of mine, a girl who, Nina, who's an amazing singer too, and she ended up singing with Ocean 11 with me when I invited her. But she came down the halls of school and was like, this band, Ocean 11, you're going to love this story. They want me to sing with them. I don't know what they're talking about. I ain't singing no Touch Me Tomatoes. And she was so insulted that they wanted her to sing that they were asking her to sing this song, Touch Me Tomatoes, with them. And because I wanted to get to know them, I was like, what do you mean? They need a singer? I'll sing. And we ended up connecting, and we played a show at my house. We had a house party, and then we played another show. And I went on to college, and they continued to play and record a little bit, but they had already had sort of a little bit of a following. People knew them. They played mostly instrumentals. They played at the Anti Club, some of those really, really underground or big, also, big clubs in Los Angeles, people that know all those great clubs. But I just couldn't stop thinking about continuing that with them. And Ray and I, had fallen in love, and we were still together. And he said, don't worry, when you come back, there's a place for you. There's always a place in our band. And they actually brought on Desiree and Tiffany, 2 other girls, to sing with them. So when I came back, we just went for it, and we had, Shannon was going to move away. He was our bass player. And he said, before I move, you guys need to figure out a way to take all my vinyl and record it, because I'm going to bring it over in boxes, and whatever you got to do to record this, you need this. This is like your foundation. This is, your lesson. I need you to learn. And so we taped everything on tapes, and we numbered all of them.
Yeah, there was no Bluetooth yet to transfer vinyl.
None of that. It was literally on tape. They were all numbered like 1 through 30. And I had the honor of writing down, each name, the song. After a while, I kind of gave up. So some of them I had to go back and find out myself, which was great. But it was really hard, back then. You have to think, this is before the internet. This is before Facebook. This is us calling each other on the phone. And this is us, sitting down and just doing whatever we could do to really listen. And we spent every day, playing the music, listening to the music. And I just fell in love with so many songs. And I don't think we thought of it as like, oh, we're going to cover these songs. We thought, let's learn how to play this music. So that's what we did. We played the songs that we loved from these tapes and from the vinyl, and we just experimented. And I was able to find more and more tracks, Phyllis Dillon tracks, because we had learned Perfidia, we had learned Don't Stay Away, but then we started to discover, Derek Morgan, Stranger Cole, the duets, Lee Scratch Perry, like his early ska stuff with Solid as a Rock. And we just started picking songs and then recording them. And it was really about learning how to record and learning how to listen and be a band, and the harmonies and the little intricate parts and the guitar, the drum and bass, the pocket that you talked about, the melody. And then it became more about really the recording experiment.
Right. Yeah. Because I was wondering about that, because when you go back and listen to your album, it's so authentic sounding. And surely there was lots of research. And now, like you're saying, you were like totally like immersed into that sound. So like, what were you guys doing to capture that same sound?
We were fortunate that David Leitner, who's the mastermind producer, really Ray, Jordan, Oliver, David, they weren't just musicians. They were producers. They were engineers. They were fortunate. David, had a studio. I had lots of equipment. He traveled. He had a lot of percussion experience. So he knew how to capture small sounds, big sounds. They really worked on that because they were so excited. They had all this equipment. They were passionate about the music. And they spent, we spent a long time in that studio together, and they were great friends. They grew up together. So I know that's really important. If you think about it, all the bands and musicians and artists that have stuck around for this long, it's because they're good friends, they're family.
Yep.
We're all family. So they really, really worked hard because they loved it, and they were able to do that. Not everybody's fortunate enough, but when you're younger, we were fortunate enough to spend our days together doing that. And they then when Pro Tools came in, they were able to really discover that tool, Pro Tools. Come on, that changed it for everybody.
Yeah.
And bands were starting to put out their own music. So they would do, they would do anything, because it was really about Lee Perry, King Tubby, all the dub, that we would listen to. and finding all those little sounds, like using any wacky experiment that we could do. Like they had this weird box that was like a telephone listener, and they would like plug it into the mic like that. I can't remember how they did it. They would experiment with whatever they could find that would make sound or could have sound travel, through the mic. They also tried to listen closely, really a lot to Lee Perry, but they would take like the microphone and put it under the bass drum, working with the hi-hat, the snare, and all that to get the perfect sounds for that. Also putting the mic in the room, having the vocal, like on the, if you listen to Rocksteady, that's me, Alex, Greg, Oliver, Tiffany, Desiree, we're all standing around in a circle around one mic, and that's the take. It's not each individual going in and doing their harmonies. So it's really about singing together when it comes to the harmonies, and feeling comfortable enough to get in there and then record it on the mic together rather than doing it separately, which didn't take a lot of mixing. But then when it comes to the mixing later and the production after the recording, I mean, that's where they would sit literally till like 5 o'clock in the morning every night together,
Wow.
and mix and just try to get different sounds. And then I was fortunate enough later to try to do that myself. I wish I learned more from them in that respect. But to watch them, it was really profound.
And that information was probably not very easy to come by in terms of knowing, like, from an engineering aspect, how they recorded the instruments and what mic placement. But I know today there's artists that are able to achieve that because all the research is out there. With the internet, everybody can figure that stuff out and share it more. But when you guys were doing it, you guys were literally doing it by ear and figuring out when it sounded like the recordings. So that's pretty awesome.
I think too, like being able to play live together a lot, because really, if you think about it, the live dynamic, like Ocean 11 and the live sound is also really unique. We listen to each other on stage. I would say that for any band that's starting out, or even if you've been around for a while, like go back and listen when you're on stage, be in the moment, as much as you can, because the dynamics of the song, not every ska song has to be played at that tempo. Like finding that tempo, that rock steady tempo is a treasure. That's what makes that era so beautiful and unique and special. That's why it's my favorite. But I think like being on stage and being comfortable with each other, being honored enough to open for Hepcat as much as we did, we were able to also listen in that way. So we could go back and be like, those little guitar tasties between, little piano parts between, you know what I mean? Like those are really important. Or like we were talking the other night about those little melodies that are like the little melodies horns do, where they make fun of like an old school, I can't remember what I'm trying to say right now, but
yeah, they throw in like a little flourish of a song that people know.
Exactly. And like doing that on stage. Some of that. Yeah. And then coming back and putting that in the track. So being able to play, every weekend and live with a big crowd and building up the dynamic and the tempo and the volume of the song, that would also play into the live recordings a lot.
Wow.
I mean, not to the live recordings, to the recordings.
Yeah. So.
And we would Lewis would record the live shows, and then we would take it home and listen to that too.
Oh, I think that's a must for bands, especially bands starting out. You absolutely should.
Our band was so crazy. They would find special places in the Troubadour and the Roxy, like the weirdest places to put the mic and the recording. Like one time they put it up in the sound booth with the sound guys, and you could hear them talking in the background, and they were like, they weren't big ska fans, so they were kind of making fun of, and we could like hear them talking about us, but they would find the neatest places to even record the live shows. Then we'd bring it back after the show, 2 o'clock in the morning, and listen to it for the next 2 hours.
Like relive the whole show again.
Yeah. And everyone would come over. We were so excited. I mean, it was just a really great time.
Oh, that's really cool. It's funny you say that. You reminded me like when early on in my band, we would do that. We would record a show, and the funniest, like, you know, like when you think that you're moving a lot on stage, and then you go back and watch, and you're like, oh, I thought I was like moving a lot, but I'm just like doing like this. And you have to learn how to really sell it, and you sell it on stage. Let me tell you.
I know. Sometimes I watch it and I'm like, oh, maybe I sold that a little too much. No.
you got the moves that goes along with it. So very cool.
I think it's the crowd, you know, it's see. Yeah. I mean, just to know how much people really love the music. Because I always think about different genres of or whatever, different kinds of music that people go and experience at clubs. And I always wonder, is it like this at all? Because it's truly, to me, amazing. Everyone dancing, everyone singing along, you know, everyone just like having a great time and feeling blessed to be there.
There's no feeling like it.
Yeah, it's really great.
The energy is crazy.
Yeah.
And so you released this album, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And you guys like was the success was there at the time, correct? And you guys were getting like all the big gigs and playing all these shows. But this was the only album that came out that you guys did. So how long was the run of the band?
Well, we were playing all these shows. We didn't really know what was happening with the CD. Like, we knew it was out there, but we didn't know. Again, you got to remember, this is before Facebook, before the internet. We didn't know until we started getting literally letters in the mail, you know, actual fan letters or people reaching out in the mail, you know, from Indiana or Nevada. Like, I still have one of the letters from Indiana, and that's when we were like, oh, wow, this really means something to everybody. And it became like this.
You self-released, right? You self-released this album.
We self-released it. We did everything ourselves. Yeah.
So no label.
We made the copies, and then we obviously gave them to like Chuck Wren and Luis from Steady Beat. So that's how we kind of got it out there. And then we ended up moving in together into like a big space. And we set up a recording studio, and we recorded a lot of songs, and we also recorded some other bands, and we also recorded a track for Hepcat. Like, we tried to get ourselves out there as like because people wanted that sound, right? So we tried to record other bands and put ourselves out there in that way. What became tricky for us is our drummer, Oliver Charles. He's a prodigy. I mean, I can say that with 100% integrity. And he was very young, and he got hired by Ben Harper, and we had to let him fly. Yeah, we had to let him, you know, spread his wings and fly and do his thing, because that was his career. That's his life. And for some of us, I always hoped it would be, you know, our career in a certain way, but I understood some people had to have regular jobs, and that's okay too. But when he left, we knew that it wouldn't be the same without him. He's a huge part of the band in so many ways. Writing the songs, the drumming itself, the producing and engineering, the passion and energy, you know. And so without him, we all agreed that it wouldn't be the same without him. Wow. And we weren't able to do it again until he actually was able to come back and say, we're doing a reunion show with Hepcat. So we did have a bunch of recordings that we never put out. But we did also put out a lot of stuff on compilations. So I was able to put out a lot of original tracks in that way. And we put out a couple instrumentals as well.
So you were able to sprinkle unheard tracks over the years.
Yeah, yeah. So my goal, because I see some questions, would be that if I could get all those tracks that weren't on that album, and maybe something like even like Perfidia, because that's such a huge part of my legacy with the band, and certain tracks that we didn't do, maybe if there's a way for us to put something out like that. I think we need to do something on vinyl, and I might just go for it and hope for the best. But I do think it's important, and hearing from people like, oh, I played your song at my wedding, or how, you know, I lost the CD, how can I get another copy? And it's just a matter of getting the funds together and making that happen for everybody, including myself.
I think a re-release is way overdue.
Way overdue. Wait for like an anniversary year that makes sense.
Dude, we gotta talk to some people about that.
All right, let's do it.
I know, right? So yes, that question was from Ray.
Yeah, hi Ray.
Vargas. And
love you too.
Joanna Wallace from Minnesota. What's up, Joanna? Thanks for checking it out. She's asking what your favorite show that you've performed at, or a dream show that you could perform at.
I think I'm going to answer that in two folds. With Ocean 11, my favorite show would be, there's two, would be the old Palomino Club when the first night I played with Hepcat, and then at the House of Blues, which you saw at the beginning of our show here, the House of Blues reunion shows with Hepcat, because anytime we played with Hepcat was amazing every time. But the first show I played with him, I got to meet Alex and Greg, and Alex and I, we've been friends for quite a long time. So that was just a really special night. He came up to me and, made me feel good, because it was one of my first nights playing in with a big crowd and playing with them. And he's like, there's nobody that sings like you, a female. You got to sing with us sometime. And we all know how special Alex is. So to meet him that night and meet the band and become friends and family with them, that was one of my favorite shows. As performing as Queen P, playing at the Hollywood Bowl. And I want to say thank you to Nathan, my love, for making that happen with Keith and Tex. Playing the Hollywood Bowl, not knowing what that was going to be like, and walking out on stage and realizing we're in Los Angeles. Everyone comes to these reggae shows at the Hollywood Bowl, and to hear people yell out Queen P, and to know there was like family out there, and also to meet new people. Whenever you play a show and you meet people that don't know the music and they fall in love with it instantaneously, and they ask you about it and they want to hear it again, and you're able to share it with new people, that to me is so important. That's a big part of why I do this music, because if I'm going to perform, I need to know that somebody heard the music for the first time and they're going to listen to it for the rest of their life, because we know that's what happens, right?
Yes.
Once you hear it, you can't go back.
Right. I think everybody has that experience of that show they went to where they just got hooked, they didn't even go to see that band. And then they go and see this artist and it blows them away. Yeah, for sure. Or
like meeting people that were able to take their kids to all ages shows back in the 90s, to meet them now and they're all grown up, and they were going to shows when they were 9. That's pretty crazy and incredible too. Yeah.
Yeah. I had an experience of that. It's but of course this was because of the huge success of Yo Gabba Gabba. I was like super excited to take my kids to see the Aquabats.
Yeah.
And of course the show is like totally geared now towards kids, understandably.
Yeah.
But that was fun, and they actually got to get on stage and stuff like that. And I used to see the Aquabats like a long time ago. Of course, that's, I even got to kick a drunk guy out of the venue because I happened to work security at the venue. But
I kicked a couple drunk guys at venues too.
I think it's all part of the gig.
I've broken up some fights. That's my thing. I try to keep the peace.
Well, that's good, and I know that that's not easy sometimes in the ska scene.
Actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this, and I don't mind. People listen to me because they go, "Okay, Queen P, okay, we'll stop." And I'm like, "Okay, if you know me and that's going to stop this fight, I'm good."
That's awesome. You're like the mama bear.
Exactly. Yeah,
in the scene.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
Yeah, Joanna was saying that she was actually at one of those reunion shows over there at the House of Blues, and coincidentally, you can actually, I think there's a whole set is on YouTube, so you can watch. We played just one song off of that video, but you can see that. And so, speaking,
I love that it's in black and white too. It looks so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan's dad filmed that. We were lucky to have that whole thing on YouTube. That's great.
Yeah, it's a That's how I got to hear a lot of the songs until I got my hands on the tracks. So kind of related question in terms of the reunion stuff. What was happening in between that gap when you guys stopped playing, and then the in between? What was going on there? What were you doing?
After the reunion, that's probably the best way to segue too, because we talked a little bit about after the album and when Oliver left, right? And then I actually realized that I still, I started going to music and I started seeing familiar faces and bands and I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are still playing and everyone sounded so, and I was super impressed by that, like to hear some bands that had stayed around for 15 years and changed their sound and developed it, like the Debonaires, and even the Irie Beats were still around and going to cat shows. So I didn't know that people would know me at all. To be honest with you, I had no idea whatsoever. And Joey Altruda actually asked if I would come out because Oliver played drums with him and his band he put together. And he asked me to come out and sing one song. And it was at the El Rey and I was behind the curtain and I was super nervous because I was like, this feels weird. I'm going to go out and sing and nobody knows me, but okay. And I went out on stage and it makes me want to cry right now. I'm sorry. I'm super sensitive, but to hear everybody in the crowd in LA, remember me and say Queen P and sing Don't Stay Away with me, it blew my mind. I had no idea whatsoever. And it also kind of kicked me in the butt because I was like, I can actually do this. I love the band. I love the guys, but I can also keep doing what I want to do. If they don't want to do that right now, that's okay, but I do. So I put together a 17-piece all-star band with members of the Expanders, the Debonaires, Chris Murray, C-Spot, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of everybody so I don't forget everybody, but I just got anybody I could to join the band. And I said, let's just put on a big all-star show. And we did, and it was super amazing because it was everybody I could think of all together. Of course, we did covers because we didn't have our own tracks, but then we started getting invited to back legends and at some Fonda shows at the Fonda with Eric Kohler and Junior Francis. And Junior was a big part of bringing me back. Eric Kohler's a big part of bringing me back. And we started backing the legends. We started getting invited to Sierra Nevada to do that. And that just began the whole second chapter of my life as Queen P, and being able to perform solo, being able to sing with legends that I've loved. I met Derek a long time ago, but to be able to be his friend and be able to, I remember the first time I met him, I'll tell this, see how I ramble? It's
okay. This is good stuff.
Okay, cool. The first time I met him, I felt bad that we put out an album and we did covers and I didn't realize it was going to be such this huge phenomenon. And I realized they weren't my songs and we didn't make any money off of it. Right. So but I wanted them to know that. I wanted to have that integrity. And when I met Derek, I told him, I said, we put out a CD. The first track is Housewife's Choice. I didn't know this was going to happen. I love your songs. And he said to me, he looked me in the eye and he gave me the okay. And he said, Queen P, sing my songs. Do whatever you want. Let as many people hear them as possible. Because the more that they're out there, the more people will remember me too. And that's when I realized that was going to be my mission, that I was going to be okay with that. With the fact that I do covers, that I wasn't going to let other people elsewhere tell me, oh, you're just a cover band, because that's not true. Everyone that knows us knows that we have a lot of integrity in our music and we honored the legends through our music, because I do believe that through people being able to see us, people went out and bought those albums. people went and sought out that music. Like even someone like Jesse Wagner from the Aggrolites tells me, he's my friend, of course, but when we first started connecting, he said, when I heard you guys, that made me want to go hear this, and get more, just as much as I could, as much knowledge. And even knowing like Phyllis Dillon, for him, she holds a special place in his heart too. And so I honor those artists now, and that was the second chapter, was saying, okay, so now the All-Star Band is backing the legends. I'm able to sing the duets with Stranger Cole. I'm able to sing backups with Ken Booth. I'm able to sing backups with Pat Kelly, Errol Dunkley, Alton Ellis. Oh my God, like it really blessed my heart. And I know that when I look those legends in the eyes, they know that. And they love us. They truly love all of us. And I hope you all know that. And then the next chapter for me was also Jason Lawless, rest in peace, I love you. He asked me to go on, he said, you're Queen P, you need to go out there as Queen P. And he set me up on a little tour, the shifters you were talking about. Duncan set me up on a little tour, and I played with the Delirians. And that's how I was able to then introduce them to the legends. And that really took off. I mean, anything I could do for anybody, I will. And and I saw them take off, and I'm so proud of them and their work, and getting to know them as artists, and being able to always boost their career in any way, or share their music that they're doing now, whether they're in the Delirians or they're doing their own thing like Joe. So that really was a great part of my career as Queen P too. And then we started doing Ska Mania in Los Angeles with Junior, and backing more legends. So, and then as that kind of died down a little bit at Ska Mania, Nathan, the love of my life now, and the father of my child, he wrote an email to Keith and Tex. And he said, hey, if we could get you guys out here to Los Angeles, would you want to play a show? And we realized how easy it was to just put yourself out there and, to write these legends and ask them to perform when they haven't performed for 20 or 30 years.
Yep.
And we established a relationship with them. And then we started to manage them, and we sent them all over the world, Japan, Brazil, Australia, London, Germany, all over California, United States, New York, Chicago. And we were able to, I feel like that was another way of giving back. I also got to sing with them. So that's all of my favorite Rocksteady, a lot of my favorite Rocksteady. So to honor Rocksteady by doing that with them, that was the third chapter, I would say, in my career so far. And that's what led me to the Hollywood Bowl. So that was a long way of answering your question.
No, but it's amazing that your contributions to the music didn't stop with just the performing, but how involved you were and still are in the scene, helping other artists. Sometimes when an artist achieves a certain level, they don't take the time to help those that are coming up. And for whatever reason, they don't think about it. But it's always a pretty amazing thing when those artists like yourself and others take that time to bring the next generation of bands up, and like the Delirians, like you were saying, which is funny because that's Angel. we that's where I recorded my album, was at his place.
Yeah.
In February. Oh, I need a coffee break. Hold on. But so to be now, of course, so you were managing them, and then the pandemic hits.
Yeah.
So what are you guys, or what's the plan, or what's going on?
Well, one thing I want to say really quick that I thought about last night, and you just touched on a little bit, but I wanted just to share one tiny tidbit, is that I'm super proud of the younger bands and the younger artists. And what really, really struck a chord with me is I played a show called Ska Wars in Los Angeles with the Delirians. And there was a lot of ska core bands.
Yep.
And I went out on stage, and for me, I feel like all the music is relative, right? Because we're all relevant, because we're all together, and we all are so passionate about the music, regardless of what kind of ska or rocksteady or reggae it is. But to go out on stage and see all these 15, 16-year-olds, young kids dancing and singing. And I got on the train after that show to go home. And this young girl said, she said, I just have to tell you that I love you so much. Because of you, Phyllis Dillon is now on my playlist. And she's like, I try to find the shows whenever you guys play. And I got to hurry home because my mom and dad don't know I'm out at the show. But it was just so great because these young kids, like the way that we can share the music now, it's really powerful. So I just wanted to share that moment with you because it was a great story. And if I had never played with the Valerians, I wouldn't have been able to be at a ska core show probably and see how the music is shifting and changing and growing, and it will evolve and keep evolving, right?
Right.
So now for me, during the pandemic, we took some of our stimulus money and we bought our own equipment. Nathan and I have written some songs. We've tapped into like our own sound, and some other artists have reached out to me and asked me to do some recordings with them, and I'm excited about that. But I also am really now thinking, as I've looked at, I mentioned this to you earlier on Instagram, noticing when people are reposting tracks and stuff off a lot of these compilations, how a lot of those original songs that I wrote, I'm so proud of because I wrote all the parts. I mean, I wrote the drum, the horn parts. I wrote the solos. Like I wanted the solos to sound a certain way. I wanted the guitar licks to be a certain way. Everything about the songs, and I'm super proud of those songs. And I think they're actually really good and they stand the test of time. So I think it might be something that I need to really think about doing in terms of if people want an Ocean 11 release, and those are songs that were never on any kind of release by us, that might be something that I really need to consider putting a lot of effort into making happen.
Wow. And you have the original recordings and everything, or you think you'd be like going back in and redoing?
No, some of those I would want to use the original recording because of the quality, like you're saying, the production value.
Right.
Like I Am Queen sounds like it literally is from the 50s, and that would be a track that I would want to probably keep in that way. But another one that was so great is when we did the Scott Island recording with Gaz off of Island Records, he recorded 2 tracks. So he did Stop That Train, the ska version, which is amazing, but he also recorded Perfidia. And I would even ask Gaz if I could use that because it's so great. It sounds so good. So I have to kind of look at it like Best of Love. That's a great song. I was able to do an Ocean 11 show with Soul Syndicate and they played that song. It sounded great with them. So I think that one would need to be re-recorded. It just depends. Maybe write a couple new tracks. There's some that I never recorded. There's one that I put out with Jason Lawless that's really good. So it's something I got to think about.
Yeah.
Maybe re-record a couple and keep some of the older versions and then compare.
That all sounds good. Do all of that. All those things.
All of that.
Let's get it going. Wow. So that's good news that we have some possible likely new things to look forward to.
Oh Lord, and I said it. So
you
now
did.
I gotta do
it's
it.
Official. It's Facebook official.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anybody have? Let me see if we have anything else here. Rules of Life was a top tune. That's from Sean Spinelli and Roz
That's
Mitchell.
so funny too. I was talking to Troy, Brad's wife from Sublime, and I guess apparently the Long Beach Dub All Stars. Brad loved Ocean 11, by the way, because we were on the comp. I have to mention Tazy, right? That really took Ocean 11 in a whole different direction because of the fact that Sublime was on that comp and we were on that comp. That exposed us to a lot of people. So I have to remember to thank Tazy as well. But that for that moment in time, that track, he loved Best of Love on there. But anyway, Long Beach Dub All Stars, I guess, then got turned on to Ocean 11. So they did Rules of Life or The Ruler's Life. They did their version of it, but they thought it was an Ocean 11 song. So then I just met up with them about a month ago and he was like, I always thought that was your song, but I found out that was a cover. And that's why I'm like, good. I'm glad that you know that now because that's important for people to know the original, where the music came from.
And this is like the third time you've brought that up, and I keep thinking of this because of that, and then I keep forgetting and being reminded again that I think ska or in the reggae genre, the cover is so important that you don't really get it. It doesn't become as much of an important factor in other styles of music like it has for ska and reggae. I mean, if you think about going back to two-tone, that's all covers.
Well, I know, and then there's some songs even when the legends do it, and then I hear this song that I thought was like an original Ken Booth song, and I'm like, oh, that was a cover. Like they were covering too. I shouldn't feel so bad. Or like people using a rhythm, over and over and over again. And when I first discovered that, I was like, you can do that?
Like, yeah, I had the same experience with like Penny Reel. I heard Hepcat's Penny Reel.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. But then you go back and you hear the original, but that's not the original because there was a, it just slipped my mind. The what's that style of a calypso? There's a calypso version of that. Of
course, calypso, yeah, for sure.
Before that
was a big influence on Ocean 11 too. The calypso, obviously, but we were lucky to have David in the band because he grew up with that music, and Oliver too. So that really helped Ocean 11 as far as influence too. Yeah. I heard a man riding on his motorcycle 2 weeks ago with the original Spanish Perfidia, playing on. He's driving on a motorcycle, and I was like, "Wait a minute!" It was pretty awesome.
Wow. So, I want to. It looks like we're running into about that time. So
that's why I was talking so fast because I know there's so much to say, and I just appreciate the people that were here with us.
Yes.
And that you would have me today. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Well, thank you for taking the time to be here and to kind of giving us this little slice of history. Because surprisingly, like I tried really hard to find more and more stuff about Ocean 11, and there's just not enough out there.
Okay.
I found a couple great articles on Duff Guide to Ska. Like I said, Duncan wrote a nice write-up when I think about the time that you were going out there to do those shows with him. And so I think, the story obviously is not over, but it needs to be out there a little bit more. So I'm glad you have
Wikipedia?
Yeah, we need a Wikipedia. I'm glad you have the Ocean 11 Facebook page.
Yeah, maybe I'll put some more. You're making me think, or give me some ideas, everybody, and I'll do what I can,
Yeah. I'll give you this video, actually, if you want it. Or you can put it up on that page, too, because
you took a slice from the whole link, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. Everybody, this was Queen P of Ocean 11. Please give her your love. Share the video, because the video after we stop going live, obviously it stays on here for posterity. So continue to share the video out, and we'll do the same here. And thank you guys for checking out Ska Talk with Mr. Kingpin. next
And
week.
continue to share the music with the youth. Continue to play it for the youth. Share the music always.
And the covers. Continue doing the covers. Yep. Let me see here.
That should be the name of my next band, Queen P and the Covers.
Did that just happen? All right. Well, we're going to tell you guys good night. I don't remember who is next week, but I will have an event.
It's Chris Murray.
Oh my gosh, that's right. That's because I just thank you. You're at that. Welcome. You know, I just got them.
Try to do my homework.
Thank you. I booked a bunch of them, like in the last few days, and it just kind of like I think I'm out into July already. So, and
Chuck Wren's coming up, and I want to say thank you to him too. And thank you so much, and good luck at Supernova, and we'll stay in touch, okay?
All righty.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
And I'm going to play the video again as we go out, just so everybody can check it out again. All right, good night.
Check it out. Good night. Queen P. We'll be right back.